How are you all doing tonight? My name is Bigbobbedboi, and welcome. I'm in Dire Mall, completely naked. Why am I in Dire Mall naked? Well, other than it just being a good way to pass the time, we're testing Furious Howl because no one else wants to, I guess. So Furious Howl shouldn't be that complicated. It just adds on average 51 damage to your next physical attack at max rank. Your pet can throw it up every 10 seconds and it affects everyone near him as long as they are in your party. Okay, so sounds good. So why would we need to test it? Because there's actually a lot of misinformation going around about Furious Howl. It only affects white hits. It only affects yellow hits. It affects both, but only your next attack, like the tooltip says. It affects both, but you can snapshot it and get it to affect multiple shots. These statements are contradictory and I've heard all of them a shitload of times. I don't even know where people come up with some of these. Why would it not buff yellow hits? And I can't find anywhere where someone else has done the testing to definitively prove this shit, so I'm going to shoot this ogre an imperial fuck ton of times in various ways to suss out how Furious Howl actually works. First thing we need to do is get a baseline. I'm very naked and using ancient bone bow to make this easier. Furious Howl says it adds a flat amount of damage, so my gear won't make any difference in what it does or doesn't do. I use the max rank of aimed shot and multi-shot for all the testing. And I stayed in max range for all the testing. That is important. My DPS is also inconsequential for this, so don't worry about it. For the baseline, I hit this ogre with 1,121 auto shots. The maximum was 141, the lowest was 108, and the average was 124. I had some crits. The highest was 323, lowest was 253, and average was 288. I hit them with 51 aimed shots. Max was 504, minimum was 473, and average was 488. I only crit 4 times, so these numbers are less important, but max crit was 1133, minimum crit was 1090, and average of crits would be 1104. I also hit them with 51 multi-shots. Maximum was 212, minimum was 181, and the average was 198. 5 crits with a max of 472, minimum of 427, and an average of 454. So those are the numbers we have for baseline. The 3 most important are the non-crit averages, which, one more time, are auto shot 124, aimed shot 488, and multi-shot at 198. Now we can start using Furious Howl. The first test will be start casting aim shot, use Furious Howl, immediately multi-shot, then let auto shot ring out. I did this 26 times. I would have liked a larger sample size, but this shit was really boring and took forever. So the numbers for auto shot hits. The max was 167, average was 158, and the minimum was 139. The aimed shot numbers were max 536, minimum 502, and an average of 517. Only 3 crits, 1,210 maximum, 1,185 minimum, and an average of 1,195. For multi-shot, we had a max of 245, average of 228, and a minimum of 212. Only 4 crits, with a maximum of 545, minimum of 482, and an average of 517. So next, I did almost the same test, but in the order you're more likely to actually use in your rotation. So aim shot, Furious Howl while casting that aim shot, auto shot, and then multi-shot. Let's look at those numbers. Auto shot had a max of 174, minimum of 140, and an average of 158. Only one crit at 330. Aimed shot had a max of 534, minimum of 500, and the average was 518. 3 crits with a max of 1,223, minimum of 1,164, and an average of 1,181. And finally, multi-shot. Max of 247, minimum of 196, and an average of 225. 4 crits with a max of 552, minimum of 487, and an average of 521. Alright, so let's compare these numbers and see what we can conclusively prove. The average numbers for aimed shot: 488 average for no Howl, that's the baseline. 517 average for Howl in the aimed multi-auto rotation. 518 average for Howl in the aimed auto multi-rotation. Okay, that's pretty damn clear. We can definitively say Howl buffs your first shot even if it's a yellow hit. We can definitively say Howl buffs your aimed shot even if you cast Howl after you start casting your aim shot. Howl was buffing these shots by about 29 damage, so that damage is obviously affected by armor, as you would expect. Now, moving on to auto shot, my average numbers for auto shots were 124 average with no Howl, that's the baseline. 158 average for Howl in the aimed multi-auto rotation, and 158 average for Howl in the aimed auto multi-rotation. Alright, so that's also pretty clear. Howl buffs the auto shot after the aimed shot, whether it's the shot immediately following the aim shot or the last shot in the rotation. We can definitively say Howl can buff more than one shot as long as you're at the right distance. Now let's check the multi-shot numbers. 198 average with no Howl, so the baseline again. 228 average with Howl in the aimed multi-auto rotation, and 225 average with Howl in the aimed auto multi-rotation. Looking at these, I would say it's pretty definitive. You can use either rotation and get the benefit of Howl on all 3 shots. 3 damage is definitely within the margin of error. So, what does all this actually mean? Well, all the negative shit spreading about Howl was wrong. It works on white hits, yellow hits, and you can get the benefit on all 3 shots. But it does still suffer from its biggest issue, its short range around your pet. Unfortunately, there's just no way around that. This does, however, make wolves a lot better in a few situations compared to what we previously thought. If you're in a group with multiple hunters, not that that's the best group comp, one hunter having a wolf would benefit all hunters on the opener for 3 shots. Also, the lower your pet's uptime, the better Howl becomes. In a fight where a pet was useless in melee or mid-range, wolf was already the best, since they're the only ones that can do anything in that scenario. Being able to buff multiple shots with Howl just makes them better at it. Now, I don't think this is some revelation that's going to completely change how a wolf should be used, but this does make Howl better than a lot of people currently think it is, and it's always good to know how abilities actually function. Alright, so I hope this information on Howl was able to help you out, because I know there is a lot of misinformation on Howl out there right now. If you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button because I have more hunter related content coming, and a lot already on my channel. Subs are a big part of making the channel grow, and I really do appreciate each and every one I get. The next video, I'm not sure. Despite subs going up, my view numbers are really low on these latest hunter videos, and I put a lot of time, effort, and thought into them, so I don't know. But that is going to be all for this one. I really appreciate you all watching, and I hope to see you all for the next one.